Welcome to the Physician Wealth Med podcast. It's wealth medicine for doctors. If you're a doctor and you have no time, it looks like you found us just in time. This podcast is for all doctors who would like to work on their personal wealth, but do not have traditional hours to do so because they have no time. We're here to jump into topics that will help you address your wealth both inside and outside of your practice so that you can live the life of significance you're dreaming of. You'll hear from your peers, you'll hear from industry professionals, and your host and wealth advisor, me, Kevin Sullivan. This is your time. Now let's get started with today's podcast. Welcome to Physician Wealth Meds, and we like to say it's wealth medicine for doctors. We really have a good time. We got a great show for you today, a great talk with Dr. Tony, and I'll introduce him in just a little bit. But just before we do, we cannot make any recommendations on the show unless we know your personal situation. So we just be mindful of that. It's our goal to provide you hard-hitting and relevant financial content that you can watch and listen to on your own time. We always have the video versions of the podcast and also the audio versions of the podcast available. So when you can, take a listen to today's podcast. Dr. Tony is the founder of the Personal Injury Doctors Elite Community. And I've got to tell you, he's put together an excellent community. And I thought we would share that with you today. So if there are any chiropractors or personal injury doctors listening on the podcast today, you want to check this network group out. It's more than just a network group. Dr. Tony has really put together a great community of doctors that share information that's very timely and very knowledgeable. So he's the founder, and we just want to welcome him today. Dr. Tony, welcome.
Hey, Kevin, thanks so much and for your time in doing this. And welcome to all the doctors and professionals that are listening to this podcast. He does a great job with a lot of his podcasts. You have to go back to his links and listen to many of the professionals. But today he wanted to grab me a little bit to go over what we've been doing out there in the doctors community and the personal injury niche that this has created within the last couple years. It's been an interesting ride. I've been an 81 graduate of Logan College and teach and been on the board of trustees and on board of examiners in the past, and started my niche in personal injury in about 84 and learned from the best and the mentors and personal injury attorneys and decided to teach some of the procedures of how to do it to a lot of doctors who have no idea. You know, they go out of school being the best doctors, the best treatment doctors that you can be. But when the procedures come in on an accident case, they have nowhere else to turn. And I decided, well, that's what my feed in life is to feed them education that I know to help them with their staff, the procedures, and to get through an accident case or any kind of personal injury case. There's different categories. So that's what we're doing today. So Kevin, thanks for having me on your podcast, and hopefully we can get some great information out to a lot of the doctors and professionals.
Absolutely. I feel like it's a role reversal because usually you're on the other side and I'm on your... So thank you for joining me today. You know, Dr. Tony is also the author of this book here, Think and Be Successful. I love this. If you just break it down, think and be. Those are action words right there to get you focused. Think and be successful. I love it. I love number 17, where it says, where my concentration goes, my energy flows, and that's what grows. That's such a true statement, you know, especially if you're in business of any kind. What you think about, you'll gravitate towards and you'll put the energy to. And I just love these. These are great mental vitamins for me.
Yeah, no doubt. I sat one night, just start writing a lot of things that I've learned through reading books and videos and actually cassette tapes back in the days in the car, your educational college, they call it, Zig Ziglar, in fact. And just learned a lot of different things mentally because you have to develop yourself personally to go out and face the world with all the challenges that you're going to get. You're going to get challenges every day. I call them challenges, not problems. Because it's more exciting to take on a challenge than having a negative term called problem. So I listed 101 things I kind of thought about and taught and teach that in a lot of the personal development courses I do for young adults to get them started in the right direction. So I use that book as a teaching element. And that's why I put that together. And it's out in the out in the world to pick up too.
Yeah, it's a great read. Yeah, absolutely. And I promise you, if you read one of these a day, you're going to look at life a lot differently. So thank you for that. We'll have a link on the podcast where they can get this too, if you don't mind.
Yeah, and Kevin, I wanted to thank you also as a supporting sponsor for our PI Doctors Elite community. You've done great stuff, great advice for all our doctors in and out of the community, and I appreciate you. And I wanted to throw a little bit of a promo for your end too. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Yes. Well, let's get right into it. Tell us how you started the PI Doctors Elite community and what's going on now, and just give us a little insight for maybe some of the doctors that aren't a part of that now.
Well, the big thing is, Kevin, it's kind of interesting. This kind of is one of those things you think about, want to do, and then it just drops in your lap and then blooms. And I was the go-to personal injury doctor around the St. Louis area because they knew that I was on the educational boards and I taught and worked with a lot of attorneys and just gave advice to a lot of doctors when they got in challenges in these cases. Again, I mentioned again, when we come out of any universities, there is no education at all, maybe a little bit of a personal injury case, how to deal with it, how to do it. You're the best doctor coming out to treat. And all of a sudden, here we go. We got an accident case coming in. You've got insurance companies, you got attorneys, you've got adjusters, you've got liability, you got this, that, where to turn from. You're used to here's my copay, $20, and off I go as a patient. But here we got a case that gets so confusing sometimes that this is where the solution of where I created the PI Doctors Elite community. And it's actually, believe it or not, a few months before the COVID hit back in 2020 that the idea came about. We started with 6 doctors, colleagues of mine, and I just put it on the Facebook community just for advice to talk to one another. And holy cow, within a year and a half, the thing bloomed up to 2,000 to 3,000 doctors across the United States and China. We got some in Pakistan. And it's just been a real whirlwind of this community that has really helped and advised many, as you can see, many doctors in their challenges and how to do this, how to do that, and how to staff their personal injury department on working with these cases. So I feel the best that this has really filled the need. And I think a lot of this has light of like a match. It just goes, everybody tells
right,
and they join in. So we're actually the number one, the largest Facebook personal injury doctors community in the Facebook map. So there's other groups, no doubt, but this is the largest, I think, that I can see.
And then what's your membership today? 4,000?
We're right at almost the 4,000 licensed doctors members right now across the
Fantastic.
It doesn't cost anything to be part of our community. We do ask a couple questions. We do want to know where you graduated from, your university, your doctorate degree. We'd like you actually to be a doctor in our group because that's what it's about. It's a doctor's group. And we want to know what your challenges are possibly that we can help you with. So that's pretty much the only requirements. We want you to do personal injury, and we want you to be a licensed doctor across the USA to become a member. This way, when we get presenters like yourself, Kevin, or some other special presenters, they know they're talking with our doctors and not other different careers that are meshed into these communities. You see,
sure.
So it's a very valuable requirement, but very valuable for our doctors to be doctors in this.
And keeping it pure, which is good. That's very healthy. What's your outreach look like to get more doctors into the group? Because I see these posts all the time about welcome new doctors, and there's 6, 7 names or so. So how do you go about getting it? Did they contact you, or how does that all go about, or do you outreach to them?
Good question. I'll answer that. When we first started, we kind of did a little promotions because nobody knew we were there. So I was in a lot of other doctors groups just to be involved in Facebook. And we actually started just promoting this through with an approval of their administrators that we have this group now. If there's any of your doctors that are doing personal injury, they might want to get our advice free. And whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So we started going out to the different Facebook groups, and that's when it really started building up. A lot of the doctors grabbed our link and got on our group. And then probably after about 6 months, we were at 1,000 or so doctors. We just let it run. We didn't even do any promotions. And the doctors were referring other doctors from their communities in our community. So everybody was kind of working together. And we still do that today. I have not promoted this at all. It just kind of gets out there by word of mouth. And all of a sudden we get a lot of these doctors applying to join with the requirements that I mentioned earlier.
And ultimately, what a testament to the material and the sharing of ideas and knowledge that you have within the group to make that word of mouth spread like it does. I mean, that's a huge testimony to your group.
Yeah, no doubt. I think the biggest challenge the doctors face is that they're not aware of how to deal with an attorney, first of all, and hopefully it's a personal injury attorney 100%. That's the first thing I ask them. Ask the attorney if you're going to refer to one if they need it. Two, because there's other attorneys, no doubt they have education, but they're not 100% knowing what personal injury is. You might have a divorce attorney that's trying to do a personal injury case, and that's like me trying to deliver a baby. Hey,
right.
I was taught how to do that, but I'm not going to do it unless I have to. So that's the psychology I'm trying to get at you. And two, there's a lot of documentation and organization you have to do. You got to get the other party's insurance company that hit maybe the liability person of your patient. You have to have their own automobile insurance information. You got to have their health insurance. A lot of different things you need to know to gather up front, the first visit almost, because the patient never shows up. At least you got the information for that we try to teach them to get right off the bat that they're not even aware of how to even begin. And that's where our community comes in and myself to help with that and to not lose half your income like I did over the years and all the things. We're going to save you all that by giving you all the experience, 39, 40 years of experience right off the bat. And many of the doctors in there are great, man. They give the great comments, great advice. All different states can be different. That's what makes it so versatile. It's just, you never know what's going to come out of there. So that's where we kind of started and fit into the doctors community.
There's a lot of pieces to that puzzle, including the treatment side of things, but just the delays that happen with the attorneys or the insurance adjusters trying to knock your fees down. And talk a little bit about that. I see those comments a little bit in the Facebook group about justifying the fees, or someone might think that their fees are too high in the area that they're in. Could you speak to that at all?
Well, one thing you have to remember in a actual personal injury case, like you mentioned, every one of them has, I call it a personality. There's always pieces to the puzzle, so you got to kind of figure out and organize one. And as always, when you go through any kind of treatment plans or presenting health costs, when there's a defense side that, and sometimes the system has been so, messed up where doctors and health facilities has taken advantage of it, that these defense people watch for different things. I don't blame them for doing that, because you've got to police what you're going to be paying out. But you have to realize that these people intimidate you and will always intimidate you, saying your health costs are too high. You did everything that was unnecessary. And that's just how it's going to be. And I will tell all the doctors here, just be aware of that. There's going to be some great clean cases, I call them clean, where they just go all the way through and you get paid. But you're going to have a defense attorney from the insurance company. You're going to have a defense adjuster from the insurance company. And you're going to have your side of the patient, which is, the plaintiff, they call it, the attorney that represents the patient injured. And yes, there's rights that they have to have. They were injured. It was my fault. If I text driving and I smacked you from behind, it's my fault. I should be responsible for your car damage and your health costs, no doubt. That's the way the world lives these days. But what happens is they're going to take you to review boards. They're going to take you to different aspects of that wasn't necessary. Your fees are too high, and to see how where you fit in your education of to give them the right documentation for the settlement. That's what usually comes out of these cases. So just be aware of that. That's going to happen. It's just about normal. I've been to a couple of attorney seminars, and the attorneys will always say, always ask your doctors to reduce their bills. And the reason why they do that, not only will they look better, and I understand they look better for their clients, getting them more settlement evaluation for their injury, but you don't have to reduce anything because that's your business. That's what your fees are for your practice, and that's what your patient has approved and authorized for your treatment up front for a second visit. So
great point.
So if you take the bait and you reduce the bill and all that, down the line they get aware that you will do that and talk to other attorneys or the justice, and that is the continuous thing that you might get until you stop it. So that's what we try to teach them not to do. We teach them ways to get around that, to stand strong on what your valuable services give to the patient.
Those are good points. I mean, now for a new doctor, maybe just coming into the personal injury space, do you have like an average time frame? I know every case is different, but from treatment to the payout for the settlement, some of those could take years, right?
Yeah, that's the one thing you have to remember. The liability settlement is the longest that's going to take. So if you are new in practice and you take on what they call liens are your promise to be paid out of the settlement for your patient and ride with the care. It can take, in Missouri, it's up to 5 years statute of limitations. Other states are similar to that, but it could take up to 5 years. Usually, I would say an average case goes when you release the patient under observation. Usually will go 6 months to a year to settle after the release. So that's because they got to gather all the documentation, the medical records. And if they've gone to other places, they got to collect all that, get it all together, package deal to the adjuster, and then they do what they call the settlement poker game, back and forth, till they reach a settlement, and then everybody's happy. And then you usually get a payout with your lien that your patient is signed to be paid. That's why we advocate, if they have their own automobile insurance that you pay for, or your health insurance that you can now get paid as you go along to help with cash flow, because you are a business, even though you are a doctor. So as you know that.
Definitely in business. That's right. They got a practice to run. Their lights still need to be on and staff to be paid and all that goes with it. That's for sure. Tell us about the community. Like, what do you hear from other doctors that really enjoy being part of this community as far as feedback? Or I got an answer from another doctor in Colorado, but I'm here in Maryland. What kind of things do you hear from other doctors that just really enjoy being in the group?
I think the biggest thing is they are well aware that they're all in it together. They all pretty much receive and get the same information in a personal injury case. And the only difference as we see, and they do like that, is the difference in state laws, maybe the legislation laws of practice restrictions. Those are the biggest things that they are aware of and not aware of that they get as an education in the doctor's community. I always advocate, if you're having somebody tell you this can't be done and that can't be done verbally, you better get it in black and white, or else it's not true, because verbally doesn't mean anything to me until I get it in black and white that it's laid it down. So I think the versatility of being able to talk to many, many other doctors in the same field and other fields in different states is the coolest thing. And that's what
it is.
What social media is all about. I mean, I can sit here, I'm talking to you, were you in New York today?
New York, yes, sir.
And I just talked to a young lady that was in the Philippines, and we're across ocean, talking about education.
Yeah, isn't that wonderful?
It's kind of cool that they can do that on a Facebook community, the doctors' Facebook community of all personal injury in common.
And they're also willing to respond and quickly.
Yeah, we've been averaging with about 3,900, close to 4,000. The activity has been 1,500 to 1,700 doctors per day doing something in there. So
isn't that great?
Which is definitely an active Facebook community. Facebook always sends me back, hey, this is an active community where others are kind of dead. But you got to be there. You got to be active. I enjoy being on there as much as I can. And I'm sure they do too. I mean, as you know,
right.
Most people wake up, they don't wake up to Tony Robbins, they wake up to grabbing their cell phone and going on the social media. I know some people in my household does. So
yeah, right. Well, wake up to one of these items in your book. That'll set the course for your whole day. So this is just another plug to get this. There you go. Great book. Just very motivational. I also started my career and chewed on a lot of those Zig Ziglar and Jim Rohn and Earl Nightingale, who had those training courses on cassette tapes back in the day, and just things to put your mind in a positive set, which is fantastic. I wanted to ask you a couple of other questions here as we move through our podcast today about our main mission. I have it written down here in our practice is to help doctors create and grow their wealth both inside and out of their practices, and then help them to save money and taxes. But what do you think the biggest challenge for personal injury doctors is to invest in their future? Like, what gets in their way? What are some of the issues there that they're facing with as far as that goes?
I think a lot of the things I've heard from a lot of the doctors throughout the years is that you can earn substantial amount of income in a personal injury practice if you do it right, if you know how to do it right, and if you risk the chance of waiting for the income to come in. The checks are big sometimes, from a minimum of $5,000. Have you seen on the Facebook community the $15,000 to $20,000 per case? That's sometimes unheard of. People will say, "How do you get that?" Chiropractic or other means. Well, you can, because your services are much valuable, like any other medical profession or hospitals or whatever, treating the case of injury. So this is where sometimes the risk is, and where you come in, Kevin, to help them out with that extra accumulation of the income. I know there's lots and lots of other things that they can learn, but a lot of us are not, I know, educated in the business realm of how to structure their money. And I know I took a course called Whitehall way back in the 80s, and it was an accumulation course. And it was basically get rid of your debts and accumulate. Don't have your cell phones, don't have cable TV, don't have water bottles. I mean, this guy was like, you're not going to have nothing until you earn it, and then you accumulate everything. So this is where you come in, where the doctor might need your advice as one of our supporters and sponsors to help them struggle through. The good news is that where to put it all and put it all best. And you can't predict a lot of things in the future. It comes and goes like anything else. Stocks go up, down. I mean, back in the days, we were gathering savings bonds for the kids. Now, savings bonds today are pretty dead. 7 years they would double in your money. You might remember that.
I do.
Heck, when my daughters were 22 and getting married, I handed them all this savings bond money. I said, "Here, you never knew I kept these every month. I got a bunch for," and they all got nice gifts for their wedding presents right off the bat. But these days, that has all changed, and I know I compliment you, because I don't know how you keep up with all that. That would drive me crazy. The tax challenges, and I'm sure you get educational things from other specialties and things like that. But this is where you come in as their professional for our community to help them out in the risk. Because I think a lot of them invest in themselves. They invest in their practices, which they should, to expand and to get new equipment to help patients and to add profits, as we call. But so I think that's the biggest thing I see.
Yeah, there's a huge percentage, if you look at stats on it, that business owners, that's where the bulk of their wealth lives, because that's the specialty that they know. A lot of times when looking at income and expense statements, there's also a lot of focus that goes on there, but there's also the assets and liabilities. And then if you focus on the assets, that's where you can start to really get some wealth and minimize your expenses. So we kind of focus on those things with doctors too as well. We just want to let them know that we're here to help them any way possible. No question is is a wrong question. Just like in the medical field, we'd be more than happy to answer any questions that they have for sure.
Yeah, there's no doubt you are just as important as a referral as a patient or a person wanting a doctor for a referral. I would not go to Google and say, hey, I have a doctor, I have a condition, what doctor should I go to? I would know the specialty, but I would go to somebody like you or somebody's trusted and say, who did you use? How did it, and get that referral from a person.
Right.
And I think that's what they're looking for. They can get any financial advisor, but if it's endorsed by a community like ours and the credibility is so high, that I think it's more of an effort for them to contact you and your team to help them out than just a flight by night. Here it is on Google or whatever, unless they get it from another family member or they've seen some past experience from friends or family. So I think that's the key. And then when you are their doctor, pretty much like a hairdresser, you follow them all over the world until they're retired or whatever to be that person. So that's why sometimes it's hard for them to pull away from that endorsement of the person they're using to come to maybe a new credibility like yourself with different ideas and things that they can use. But that doesn't matter. They can use 2 or 3 of you to help them out. So
sure. Well, trust and confidence is paramount. Definitely is what we strive for every day. And at some point, if you needed some medical work done of any kind and you knew the doctor was in Boston, wouldn't you like to go to that particular doctor because you know that one would meet your needs, that type of thing. So I appreciate that confidence that you have in us and our team for this particular group too, as well. We enjoy it. And I enjoy our conversations every time.
Yeah, no doubt. If you come up with a new education for our doctors, let us know, because there could be a new program, a new, I guess, niche that's going on that they should be aware of. Because, when you're a doctor, you're going on doctoring. You learn that and you do that where your energy flows. That's what grows thing.
Yes.
You're trying to figure out all this financial stuff, which you will have to do sooner or later. Let you, the professional, take care of diagnosis. A professional like yourself, you are educated. You know where everything's at. I don't possibly know that. I will make the mistake and lose $100,000 where you will help them in their taxes and save that $100,000. So it's something they got to think about.
Well, I appreciate it. Do you have any closing comments you'd like to say here today before we close out the podcast?
Well, anybody's welcome, to our PI Doctors Elite community. That's what it's there for. It's a cool community of all personal injury doctors, mostly, that advise each other, comment each other, and sometimes they get egotistic with each other with their credibilities, as you will see on that community. But it's a great world to go to if you need something in a procedure, personal injury, advice on an attorney, insurance, processing in your different states. And all you have to do is go to Facebook in the search and put, like you see behind me here, PI Doctors Elite Community, and it will pop right up because we're the #1 SEO that pops up on Facebook. And just join. The moderator will check everything out and alert to me to approve you. But again, we'd like you to be a licensed doctor where you went to school in a university and when you got your doctor's degree. So those are a few little barriers possibly that you can pass. This way you can come on in and enjoy everything. And most of the things are free for your advice. There is a lot of different things we offer on the e-commerce with files and liens and all this professional educational thing, but it's all educational that you would pay thousands and thousands of dollars on a weekend probably, and you can get right on our e-commerce for all our doctor members. So come on aboard, and I appreciate everything that all the doctors do on that community, and for you, Kevin, for what you do for our doctors.
Well, thank you. Yes, it's a pleasure to do this. We have this podcast. I just encourage the doctors to share this podcast too, to get the word out about Physician Wealth Meds. It's a podcast designed specifically for doctors. And also we have content from professionals in the industry. We have other doctors come on and share their experiences too. So I encourage you to share it. We just had one released yesterday called "What is Your Medical Practice Really Worth?" So that's a very good one to look at. You can listen to it or look at it. It's on Spotify. You can find it where podcasts are viewed. Also on our website. My name is Kevin Sullivan. I'm the president and CEO of KD Sullivan Wealth Strategies, and you can find us on the internet there too. So we can help you with any questions that you have. Most importantly, we are licensed in 14 states. So if you're in one of those states that we're not licensed in, we can go about seeing how we could do that to make sure that we're able to help you. But our commitment is here for you and the doctors. That any question, just shoot me an email at kdsullivan@lpl.com, and we'll be able to help answer any of those questions too. So thank you, Dr.
right.
Tony.
Oh,
Appreciate
no doubt.
it.
Thank you, Kevin. And we'll definitely put this on our doctors community. I just had two doctors the last couple of weeks asked me how can they value their practice. So you're linked right here with that podcast. I can send it over to them and they can learn a lot from your podcast just by what you do out there to help many people and their needs. So thank you again for your support and everything you do to help our doctors and other professionals in the world today.
All right. Thank you so much. You have a good day, Dr. Tony. Thank you for joining us today.
Get out there and make it happen, folks.
Dr. Tony Calandro is not affiliated with or endorsed by LPL Financial or Physician Wealth Meds. Securities and advisory services offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor, member FINRA, SIPC. The opinions voiced in this podcast are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine wealth strategies or investments that may be suitable for you, consult the appropriate qualified professional prior to making a decision. That's our podcast for today. And remember, if you're not working on your personal wealth, who is? Please share this podcast with your friends and colleagues and make sure you subscribe, like, and share. Any questions about what you heard today, please send an email to kdsullivan@lpl.com. Physician Wealth Meds, wealth medicine for doctors.